Welcome to part 2 of the Grady family's journey into hospice care for their dad. Part 1, we talked all about the types of things that led up to the decision to consider hospice care. And in today's episode, we'll continue the discussion and find out how Lisa's dad and the family handled this very tricky conversation.
Two old friends talking to old friends. So the doctor said to us, he said, do you want me to initiate this conversation?
I'm just curious, how did he bring that up?
Well,
and maybe you don't know because you weren't there.
I wasn't there. My sister's there, and he basically was very, and it's what you and I talk about, clarity and kindness. It does not mean being nice. Kindness is being clear. Clear is being kind. And the doctor was very clear. He started, though, by telling, because he's known my dad, and he's like, you are a very smart man. I remember you each time you come in. You are your intelligence always leads the way. And he was so kind to him, and by letting him know
he's a person,
and he's always appreciated his intelligence.
And valued.
And and my dad values intelligence. So it was really, so that was good. And then he, hit hard with what was really going. These are the realities. Okay. He said, same thing I said to you with the UTIs, the constantly coming back, the, how this is a progression, that with having the infection in both lungs was not good, that this was not good. And he talked to him, really straightforward. My sister said his eyes got, real big. But he told him, from the time I've seen you before, you have aged dramatically since December. I worry, and I'm wondering if you have heard of hospice. And Dad said, yeah. And he said, it's something that I think should be discussed with your family about that option. And Dad heard him and didn't rebel or anything. So that's how he addressed it. And then he just stepped back. He didn't push it down his throat. He just said, this is something that should be something. And he said, we have a social worker that can discuss things with you. We're here to help you with that transition if that's something you all decide to do. So it was good to have an expert, a professional. So it's not just my mom and I saying something that he doesn't want to necessarily hear. But, and that's the way that was the first avenue in.
One of the 200 conversations.
One of the 200 conversations. So then my mom was there for another day. So the doctor, we had another powwow with my sister, the doctor, and Mom and I.
Did your brother call in? Because I know we talked about that.
That was when we had the final family conference.
Oh, okay.
We kept him appraised of everything.
Okay.
And then the doctor talked to us about if Dad didn't want to do it. And we actually discussed, my dad's been dealing with a lot of forgetfulness and lots of things. And is it an issue of slight dementia? There was some questions asked, and he said, I do see the onset of some dementia. He was more of the opinion of maybe if Dad didn't want to do it, that we would override it by saying, he was not competent to make that decision. And we could get, that if needed. Now, I understood his point, because he's like, this is not sustainable. What you guys are doing right now, you need extra help, and we need to find a way to do it.
Right.
And what's the avenue? So that is another different way to go, is if somebody is being super resistant, what is the reason for their resistance? Are they thinking clearly? Are they seeing the reality of what's happening? Maybe, maybe not. So
I think that's a good point of, maybe your dad doesn't want hospice, but you have to have it. Like, you cannot. So, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dad, you don't want hospice, but we have to have it. So if you want to stay home.
Yes.
So then you almost present it like, here's the two choices. You go home with hospice, and we are able to sustain this. Or if you say no to hospice, that we can't sustain this, so then you will have to be in a nursing home, and it will cost this much money.
Yes.
We don't have that, or whatever. But
and that we don't even know yet. We don't even, because my dad's got a pension, and so we're in that weird middle ground of not being Medicaid. There's still things that we don't.
But there's so if you say no, okay, you have a choice, or if they're in sound mind.
Yes.
They don't have dementia, but then there has to be, okay, if
the realities,
then this is the kind truth reality of that. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, the doctor was more, he was like, let's just get this done. And so while we heard what he said, I said to him, and I think we all felt, give a dad a moment. Again, he's a very smart man. He's not stupid. He has things to reckon with. So let's give him a moment to process. Exactly. Yeah. Again, he has fought for 49 years to survive. Most of us just live. We're not fighting to survive. We're living.
Right.
And then death is a scary thing that comes up. Yeah. For my dad, death is quitting.
Yeah.
And that means I have fought.
Yeah.
And now I've decided not to fight anymore.
Right.
And I'm a quitter.
Yeah.
49 years is a freaking long time to fight.
Lisa, you think about so one of my girlfriends has breast cancer, and unfortunately, she passed away. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, and again, it's different, younger, all those things, but I think there's a message there. If you think about all the breast cancer things, it's like, I'm a fighter. Strong,
I know.
all this. And there is an element of that, but at some point there isn't. And you don't want that to cross over, like you said, your dad feeling, or let's say someone's living with breast cancer and they cannot do another treatment.
Yeah. Or they don't want to.
We have to respect that and say it's okay not to fight, and there's a grace to that too. But as a society,
think it's so important.
It just then
they say giving up the fight. Yeah. They say it. They're giving up the fight.
And if you look at that whole advertising for breast cancer, that's not the word.
Yeah,
help me here, but you're my word girl. But
I'm not doing it right now. But yes, the campaigns, the fundraisers, all of that is the fight. And, I don't know if it's everywhere place, but our country is, has been made in war and has been in war all its existence. Yeah. So maybe we don't know how to do anything without fighting it. Whenever I see on Facebook where someone tells what's going on, everyone's like, you can beat this. All I can think is, what if they are just sitting there going, I'm done.
I don't want to.
But everyone's like,
anymore.
You can beat it. Just fight. It makes it harder for someone to come to a decision that they may have come to with more ease before.
Because then everybody thinks, they just gave up. And what kind of person?
Exactly. You've got to keep fight for your children. You got to be there.
Yes. It's your grandchildren. You got to make it to that wedding.
Oh, we just? There's truth in it.
The best example.
But seriously. Yeah. So you're not going to be at every wedding. You're not going to be there for everything. So when's the one that you aren't? And how do you handle that? And how does a person let that be? I think that is such a huge portion of it. I know that's what hospice gives also in addition to care. We're not there yet. We're not at that spot of having them walk us necessarily through it. But Mom and I and Nan, my sister, my brother, and family, we're all walking through that. And so at that point, he didn't have another conversation with him. And he said, when we discharge, let's have a family conference where everybody is involved and we discuss it with the social worker so we can make sure that when you guys leave, you are leaving being taken care of. That was the plan. Discharge, whenever that may be. We're dealing with major infections, so not quite yet. So my mom's still in there. She's visiting with Dad in the nighttime, so she got to actually be there because they're in the hospital together, and she bebopped her way over and got to sit with him in the middle of the night. Again, little miracles. How crazy is that? They got to have some discussions there and some serious discussions. Mom brought up hospice with him too, now that had been broached, and they were able to have their talks about that, and more seeds were planted and honest conversations. So then Nan and I were talking on the phone at one point, and we were like, okay, so here's our thoughts, and we do this. We had this whole plan, because that's what you do. You make a plan of how we're going to make everything work. And then a text comes through, and the text says they are seeing rigidity in the heart, and which I looked up in is cardiomyopathy, which is causing the fluid in the lungs. And the doctor has requested that the family have the conference tomorrow on Friday.
Okay.
And Nan and I just sat there with our mouths hanging open because one minute we're like, okay, this and this and this, and then all of a sudden it was like,
I don't know if he's going to survive the night.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, that changed drastically.
Yeah.
So we called my brother and let him and everybody know that conversation. And we're going to bring Michael on through FaceTime. And I got the tablet and we're trying to get all planned. And my dad was very stressed about this meeting. He thought about it all night long.
Oh.
And he would ask the nurses, and they tried to give him some pills to help him sleep, but he didn't want a pill in the morning because he had to be aware for this family meeting, this conference, and he was very intent on it. We came in on Friday morning, and he was doing a cognitive test.
Okay.
They do that before these meetings so that they know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they always do, but they certainly did with Dad.
Okay.
And it was the cognitive test where they give you 3 words and then you have to remember them.
And then
I can't remember.
Yeah. I think they do the clock, what time, or draw the hands. And,
yeah.
I should know what that's called. Doesn't matter. Anyway,
cognitive test. Yeah. So he didn't do well. I know that stress causes my dad anxiety to not think clearly. Right. Which we can all realize is probably dementia, which we weren't quite seeing that. But so he didn't do well in the test at all.
Which would be extremely stressful. Well, my father-in-law has gone through, and they know they're not doing well.
Oh.
And it's very stressful.
And my dad, with his brain. I mean, my dad remembers names of every single person from, that was, there are times where I'm like, and when he can't remember a name, I'm like, Dad, don't kick yourself, man. I can't remember. I'm like a girl with, brown hair and blue eyes. That's about what I got. So you can't remember a name? Good Lord. I also know that he does tend to remember stories very well. But actual information, new information is harder. So that is another sign. So we came in the middle of that and he was not doing well. He going through it, he got some things. The 3 words, he was able to remember snow, but not ball, and the other word. And he was stunned because as much as, remember the hearing, one of the ways of having a hearing problem, and typically by men, is to blame everyone else for not speaking clearly. It's not me with my ears, it's you with your mouth. Well, I think he used that with his dementia issues or with any sort of some of the cognitive stuff, is he would blame you. You're not saying the right words. You're not being clear. Actually he wasn't processing.
Oh.
Okay. And all of those arguments with my mom were his deflecting without maybe him knowing he was deflecting, but his deflecting, this isn't me, this is you. So this was a test that was very clear and very kind. The nurse was wonderful. No, you're doing just fine. And, very sweet. But he was like, and he turned to my mom and he goes, did you see that? That was horrible.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah, that was hard. And then they had to write a sentence. Okay, so.
And your dad's a writer.
Yeah. Okay. So, but this is true and this is true. Those 2 statements. Yeah. This is true and this is true. I keep saying through this process, my dad knows exactly what's going on and he's ready to go. And my dad does not know what's going on and is not ready to go.
Yeah. That's 4 truths. But we'll give you 2.
Hey, well, it's 2 of them. They're lumped together.
Okay.
They're lumped together.
And hashtag.
Exactly. So, yeah. So, and that's the truth.
Yes.
There's moments where he has more clarity than we do. So he wrote, when they needed a sentence with a noun and a verb and whatever else, he wrote, this is the end.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. That was a sentence. So
let's have this conversation.
Yeah, Jesus. So now we start in. So the first thing that happens after that, this is just kind of a funny story that I'm sharing, but it's good for people to hear how weird things can be. And so again, don't blame yourself when it doesn't go all as planned. Because we have it all ready. He's going to be in at 11. This is how it's going to work. I try to say things in the easiest way for my dad to understand and not feel defensive. So I said, Michael and Kathy, we're going to get them on with the FaceTime so they can be a part of it. He's like, yeah. And I go, I texted Michael to let him know that even though the appointment is at 11, we know it's a hospital, so things tend to run behind. And for him not to be stressed if we don't get to him right away, and I'll keep him updated.
Yeah.
This is not about you, Dad, and your desire to have everything be on the exact time. This is about your son and me being considerate of him. Yeah. Right. Okay. Little manipulative, but that was my way of telling him that most likely this would not be on time. Cut to 2 seconds later when the doctor walks in 10 minutes early. I was like,
I'm not done.
what? I was not prepared for that. I was like, and the doctor says, before our meeting, I would like to talk with the family before I talk with you. Is that okay, Ron?
Oh.
And Dad goes, yeah, sure. And I was like, I did not think Dad would say, yeah, sure. Because I was like, holy hell, what are we doing?
And then I would have been nervous. Like, well, what's he going to say?
I know. And my dad's okay with us now going secretively in the hallway and talking about him. Oh my God. I was freaking out. I couldn't believe that was how it happened. And he said, that cognitive test, your dad has dementia.
Okay.
And he is not capable of making a decision here.
Okay.
And I need one other person and one other doctor to confirm. They have to have 2 in order to be considered not competent to make the decision for hospice. I mean, we're just saying they're like, I'm the husband. Okay, all right, okay.
Okay,
yeah.
so in 5 minutes, these are the things. Oh my gosh.
So I said, well, I go, just so you know, I'm not saying he doesn't have dementia. I do agree with you. I just want you to know that test was much worse due to my dad's anxiety over this here meeting that we're having.
Absolutely.
And I do agree with you. I'm just letting you know that it was probably exacerbated by the fact that he is highly stressed. And he's like, well, a lot of times, dementia patients can get angry and defensive and they can be very confused. I was like, absolutely understood. I'm just saying, like, I just felt like all of a sudden it was like, wah. And I think the doctor was just wanting to make sure that we went a good path, whether Dad wanted to or not.
Right.
And we were feeling like we wanted to give Dad an opportunity to make his choice. So he said,
how's this going to go down?
Yeah. So he said, so we all had that. Okay, we do understand. We need a second one. How do we do that in the hospital when we get home? How does that work? There was a little bit of that going on. And then he's like, okay, well, let's get started.
But to me, like, did you have to do that? To me, that you would have to say he's incompetent before, or were you saying if he said, no, I am not doing hospice, then you would have gone down the pursuit of the other physician and another person?
I think so, but he was ready to, he's like, you need to call your physician and set up this. It will be done. It can be done due to COVID, it can be done on the phone.
If your dad said no.
Right.
Or did he say regardless?
He didn't say regardless. He just said, the best thing we can do is before you leave, get this all settled so hospice walks you out, basically. Not walks, but anyway.
Okay.
So he said, let's start the meeting.
Okay.
Well, no one's ready. And I should have, if I'm going to live in a little bit of regret, said, absolutely. Can you give us 5 minutes? I got to get my brother on. We'll get us all set. I didn't. Now, I'm not going to live in regret because everything, if you just allow it, happens even when it goes into chaos. It will happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So he goes in. Now, we thought this was going to be this whole social worker and nurse said she wanted to be here. There was going to be a presentation of what our situation was.
Slideshows, handouts.
Clearly a PowerPoint. Okay.
Yes,
clearly
seriously.
A PowerPoint to hospice.
Yeah. We're watching videos.
Right. Cut to, he sits down and says, so we're going to be sending you home.
Okay.
And Dad goes, well, that sounds good to me. And I'm like, because now I don't want...
now is your brother on the phone yet?
Not yet, because I'm still trying to fucking call him.
So you can't be present because you're freaking out?
because I'm freaking out trying to get this in. And I said, Nan, text Kathy and let her know that this is the doctor's conclusion based on the cognitive test, that things are moving in a different way than we all thought. Because we're all like, we had a family meeting the night before and we're all on the same page going, okay, we're going to let Dad figure this out, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly we've leapt into this place. And really, I think the doctor, I'm not faulting him at all. He was just being very certain that the family would be protected, even Dad included, but also my mom and all of us. He's looking at the big picture of this house needs help.
Right.
And I will find a way to get it.
Right.
That's all he saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, but Dad should make the choice on what, So I'm trying to get Michael and Kathy on. I'm getting it set up. He's having this quick conversation about time to go, and Dad's going great, and let's go home. And I'm thinking, I'm betting my dad thinks he's all better because every other time he went home, he's all better. So I finally get the thing set up, and I was like, Dad, just so you know, this doesn't mean that that all of everything's cleared up. You still have the infections, but the idea is that they will be the antibiotic. You'll have that at home.
And what did he say to that?
He was like, okay.
So
okay.
He did think he was better.
I think he was a little confused because he was just talking to me.
That's a really good point, Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't want him to be like, okay, well, great. I thought I was going down the hill, but looks like I'm all set because we're not even discussing it. And I did not want my dad to think for a moment that we weren't talking about dying at home.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair. So, but based on, again, looking at the cognitive test moments before, the doctor's like, he's not with us here.
Mm.
So
but he is,
mm-hmm. But it doesn't look like it. So Michael's on the phone, Kathy's on the phone. I'm trying to hold that up and talk, and I'm hearing them talk, but I couldn't hear what they were saying because the microphone's down below. So Dad goes, I just want to go home. Mm. Okay, again, that's great. And I remember you talking about your mother-in-law with the, not listening to the doctor and just saying, I don't care what he says, I want to go home, and not actually being aware. So Nan's like, Dad, are you saying that you want to go home and and he's like, yes. And I don't want to ever come back here. Even if I get another UTI, I do not want to come back to this hospital.
Okay.
And Nan goes, so you're saying that you want to go home? And Dad said yes. And again, no one's using that phrase, to die. We're still not saying that, which I wanted to be said, but in the end, it's okay that it wasn't. Yeah. So, and I don't mean that because I just wanted clarity. I didn't want him to be confused.
Right.
So Michael and Kathy finally screamed. They're like, Lisa. And I held up the thing and they're like, we can't hear what he's saying. And it seems like he's being pushed. I was glad that they felt that way because we shouldn't want him to be pushed. I was able to say, did you see the text that the doctor sent? And they're like, what text? And they saw that and they were like, oh, okay. And the doctor goes, so you're saying that you want to go home, and even if you get a UTI, you don't want to come back here. Mm-hmm. You don't want the poking and the prodding and the making sure. Dad said, yeah. Mm. And the doctor just looked at us all like, are you kidding me? And then my dad goes, and I was wondering if hospice would be possible. He brought it up. Not us. We didn't cajole him. We didn't convince him. In the chaos of us all being, Michael and Kathy, and I'm talking to him quick and stuff, Dad is the one who calmly and clearly asks for hospice.
Wow. What a gift that he gave you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The doctor said, wow, that was impressive. You are a very impressive man.
Wow.
And I wrote it in my journal. I was like, so whatever happened in that room, in the end, my dad led the family.
Yeah.
The day that we went in, my sister and I both woke up that morning before the meeting and said, you know what I just realized is we're so thorough on being informative and helping him through things and figuring out and assisting that we haven't let Dad know that we have emotions about this. And he might actually feel like we're like, okay, we need to do this and this and this. And we're not showing that because there's shit to get done. And when there's shit to get done, you don't always sit there and show your emotions. You got a lot of homework. So it was interesting because we both woke up realizing how it must feel to have everybody like competently handling your demise and be like, are they just like good to go? And we said, it's important for us to share our emotions. And the interesting thing is on that meeting, after the doctor left, I set the tablet in front of my dad, and my brother said, Dad, Dad was like, this is all happening faster than I thought. And the phrase that our family has used for the last 2 weeks is, it isn't how I thought it'd be.
Yeah.
This isn't how I thought it'd be. My dad said it. We said it. Every time something happens, we're like, this isn't how I thought it'd be. Because it's never what you thought.
No.
So Dad said it's going fast. And my brother shared, he just said everything that you need to say and got emotional, and the whole room got emotional. And he said, you have changed, he was a teacher. He's like, you have influenced thousands of people.
Yeah.
And you have had an amazing life.
Mm-hmm.
And we are, I'm so proud of you. And so many people were changed by you. You have to know that. And all of us cried. And it was beautiful. And my dad was very touched and very appreciative of that. And really said it after. I just said things that Michael said were so, so he's getting to know. My mom's like, your job is to sit here and be loved. That's your job, and now we said, also to love others, but loving is both ways.
And I remember we texted and you were talking about, you were trying to make things, I'm not articulating this right, easy.
Oh, yeah. The phrase that that our mantra right now is, I am open to this being easy.
Right. So I was so nervous for you because you had texted me and said, we're going to have this conversation. And then you said, I'm open for this being easy. So I think it's interesting. Was it easy for you? No, because you were trying to do the text and control.
Yes.
But it was easy for your dad.
Yes.
And so I think I do believe that there's an intention there that you have to can mantra that.
Because what happens, and that goes for both, this is the lesson for me, that goes for both positive and negative. This happened to me several months ago, and then I kind of forgot it. And then I started it again now, and that's the mantra for all of us right now. And I would be writing in my journal, I'm like, okay, so this is the plan. I'm going to do this, and we'll get this down, and then this will happen, and then this, and it's all positive. God, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to fix it, and we're going to get And then I stopped and I was like, I'm open to this being easier than that. It was usually with my dad, with his having some serious discussions, even back at Christmas. And I swear to God, I would write in my journal, I need to have a conversation with Dad and talk about this so he's clear on that. And, so he's not confused on this. And then I wrote, I'm open to this being easier than that. And I would walk around the little wall and my dad would be like, I was thinking. And he'd just be like, blah, 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 blah. And he'd say everything that I wanted to fix and make him understand. And he would do it. And I would be like, okay, so this open to being easy thing is something I have to remember. You can make things difficult. Oh my God, this is happening and this happening. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm open to it being easier than that. I'm open to it being easy. And allowing the opportunity for something to come in that you wouldn't have guessed. That goes for both planning to fix it and make it better and panicking because everything's falling apart. In both situations, you are trying to control how it will play out. Saying I am open to it being easy means you're allowing for things to play out in unexpected, beautiful ways. Again, you're right. It didn't mean that the moment was easy for me. It went from utter chaos to him leading.
I am open for this being
easy.
Easy. You talk about difficult conversations. I mean, that's unusual for a physician to be that skilled in those conversations.
Yeah.
Because their whole training is to fight and make things better. And they have to read off the families and things. And then just different personalities. I mean, this physician was more in tune. Sounds like he's had a lot of experience and probably learned from whatever.
He is. And he also told us that his girlfriend's grandfather had just gone through this.
Yeah, so
and he said he had such a perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, the first 2 UTIs, he told us, that's the other thing. I forgot to say this. He's like, hospice, they don't treat, but if your father gets another UTI, he has the choice to go on an antibiotic. I didn't know that. He said he actually has a choice to go to the hospital under hospice's care. And they will treat whatever and then take him back. They won't kick him out of hospice and put him back in. They keep him. And I found that from our hospice social worker too.
Now that just sparked a memory for me. Now again, that was probably 25 years ago, but they had specific beds, and I don't know if not all hospitals have that, but we would have patients come in that just couldn't get their pain under control,
right? Or
if they needed IV, whatever. Now things are much more sophisticated at home, but they would get in to get over the hump, and so like you said, it's not that there's absolutely no treatment.
Absolutely, they said he'll take him to the McLaren Hospital under hospice.
Yep. They're trying to keep them comfortable.
They're trying to keep them comfortable, and part of that is mental.
Right.
Because there is a choice, and I love this when he said that, because I was like, I don't know about this hospice thing, because I think I felt like my dad. And he said, if he gets another UTI, he has the choice to go on antibiotics. He has the choice to go to the other hospital if it's needed. And he said, what we did with my girlfriend's grandfather is the first 2 more UTIs, they treated him. And each time they talked with him. And the third one I got, it was decided that they wouldn't treat it. And then he passed. And I think that is, it allows them to not just be like, you're in hospice, next thing that happens, you're out. It's like, next thing that happens, you get a choice.
And how
next
long
thing that happens, get a choice.
Can your dad be in hospice? So
well,
did they say, because it used to be 6 months.
It is 6 months, but they just re-up it if it's more.
They continue to say he needs this. So at 6 months, they reassess, which means, does he continue to need support? Yes.
Or is he getting better and they can go into home care? And that's how they look at it.
And I've had patients that start with hospice and they do get better.
They said that.
And
they said they could go from hospice to no hospice, back to home care, and then back to hospice when they need it. So all of that he kept saying it's more flexible than you might think. And grateful that he did that.
That's a great word.
No idea.
Yeah. It's
more
flexible.
And once Dad understood that too. So,
I love that doctor.
Yeah, he did a great job with my dad, with all of us, obviously, and really seeing it. And then boom. So once that was decided, they went through the whole process so freaking fast, and he was out the next day. And that's when Nan and I did a huge clean, rearranged, everything, getting it ready for my dad to be back, get the house set up. It had already been set up quite well for my dad, but we needed even more space. We wanted to make more areas for people to sit with him, be more comfortable with him. So we did a lot of cleaning and stuff. And they delivered a new mattress for his bed with an air mattress that helps with wounds, and it's been freaking amazing. They delivered a table that day. They delivered it.
Like in his bed on the mattress, he's got like a bedside table for
which he doesn't like to use anyway. But we use it for other things. Oh my God, we use it for everything. Yeah. It's like it's the best table in the whole wide world. I was like, yeah, and the mattress he loves. But that we decided at Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, they delivered that. By Saturday, he was home, and by Saturday we had hospice there. Wow. The nurse and the intake nurse and the social worker. They were the weekend ones, so they weren't the ones that we were going to have. And then by Monday, we already had. So you had music therapy,
an admitting nurse, and then now do you have a different nurse?
Yes.
So, and she's your gal.
She's our gal. Yeah. So and then we have an aide. So we have a nurse that comes in 2 times a week and an aide that comes in to bathe him 2 times a week. And then he has his music therapy and he has his massage therapy. We also got called by the chaplain if he wanted that. Mom was all like, no. But I was like, Dad was watching a couple really weirdly religious channels. And I was like, maybe better the chaplain than whatever crap that was. So, I mean, it was like, not in this house.
No.
So it was not going to happen. But, and we were open to him maybe wanting to have that conversation because my mom's got very strong spiritual beliefs. They have worked through a lot of things together, but maybe he wants something more traditional. And so we're obviously open to that too. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Even though he's never been traditional, perhaps in the end, he'll suddenly become very traditional. Who knows?
Even with home care, you have to realize that, you still need to take care of your dad. So when people say, oh, they're going to have a nurse, they're going to have an aide and things, they're there for an hour.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The aide is there for maybe 2 hours. So this is not 24-hour care. So you have
that
to
is a different
realize,
thing. You can get that, but you will be paying for it.
Okay. Yep. And so you still, hospice is covered for that kind of that short term, the bed, the mattress, Yep. And covered means at your insurance benefit, and so insurance might pay a little bit of that, or you might have to pay.
Yeah,
or if
it's under Medicare. It's under Medicare. The hospice is under Medicare. And it will be, that is all covered. They cover everything. His prescriptions, his everything. They do everything.
It's all one big bundle. But
it's amazing. And all his ostomy stuff, everything is covered. Wow. And that intake nurse, she made all the calls. She called all the doctor. She called the pharmacist. She got all the information, as opposed to everybody asks us and we're like, 2 of those and I don't know, 300 milligram. And it was always trying to figure everything out. She just got the list and she did it was the most thorough, amazing thing that we could just sit back and be like, so you're handling that?
See, and I think that's a really good point. So when I think about when someone leaves the hospital, the family has a lot of homework.
Oh, God,
Okay?
yes.
You have to do this. You have to call that. Now you have to change the meds. You have to go to the pharmacy. You got to go to the airway oxygen or whatever the durable medical equipment to get the mattress and figure that out. The family has all the homework.
Yes.
Now with hospice,
They do it.
they do all the homework.
It's amazing to have. And then the 24-hour, nurse that you can call 24 hours a day. They will see his entire case. They'll know what he has, and then they will address it. They will either send somebody, they'll walk you through whatever needs to be walked through, or they'll send somebody. And we were like,
at
are
2
you
in the morning.
kidding me?
Yeah.
We had no idea.
Yeah.
And my mom cried.
Oh,
When,
Lisa.
yeah.
Oh.
She did. She cried. When we were sitting there together and they said they had 24-hour, and she said, so I can call anytime. And it was, she was like, she's like, it's all I wanted is another set of eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
The support, someone doing the homework. And, I just talked about this with someone else. We want all of our people that we love to be comfortable. We want them to get an A+, let's just say, because he's a teacher. Let's just keep going with this homework theme. But you need experts to help you with that, and for them to do the homework, and for them to know and journey with you. And, we want your dad to be comfortable.
Thank you so much for joining us for this honest conversation. Lisa's dad came home from the hospital under hospice care, and in part 3, we'll take a look at how it's going for her dad and the whole family. We'll learn a little bit about how to handle all the ups and downs that happen during the stage of caring for our parents.
Two old friends talking to old